was that before I could even step foot into classroom, I would learn my first lessons of survival. I arrived in a country where I had no family, no safety net, and no familiar faces waiting for me. For days, I slept in airports, train stations, holding my bags close and even afraid to fall deeply asleep. When I realized this, I told myself one thing: girl, you have to be strong, because this is just the beginning. Eventually, I made it to campus. I thought the worst was behind me, but survival followed me there too. Because of financial strain, I had to move into an apartment that felt barely livable. No blankets, dirty carpet, broken windows, rats running through the spaces, like an environment that constantly reminded me of how fragile my situation was. Still, I kept my hopes high while going about my daily school activities. I believed one thing: if I stay focused, things would eventually work out. Then one day, I received a call that changed everything. I was told my mother was sick. Well, at first, I tried to stay focused. I stayed calm. I told myself she would recover. But slowly, the illness took more than her health. It took her hearing, her voice, and the woman that I knew. The woman that once filled our home with laughter and joke could no longer speak and hear. Someone who welcomed me warmly could now only respond to my greetings with her eyes. Whilst watching her illness progress whilst I was thousands of miles away, honestly was heartbreaking. Now I want you all to imagine this for a moment. Someone you love so deeply, who always brought joy into your life, can no longer speak to you, and you are far away, powerless to help. As her condition worsened, reality set in. The funds that was meant to support my education had to be redirected to pay her hospital bills. Well, my godfather, who had been my sponsor since childhood, had no choice than to do this. And suddenly, I was trying to survive school, housing, food, and tuition all alone. Now imagine this for a second. Sitting in class, listening to lectures, whilst your mind is racing across continents. Imagine staying for exams whilst wondering if your mom has eaten that day. Imagine writing papers while silently asking yourself, how long can this keep going? Well, that was my reality. The weight of this struggle followed me into classroom. Concentration was actually difficult for me, and guilt often overwhelmed me. Guilt of being here whilst my family, especially my mother, needed me the most. In all this, peers noticed me, mentors listened, student affairs professionals checked in. With their encouragement, I began applying scholarships. I kept applying even when rejection became constant. But slowly, doors began to open. I received financial support, and then I secured a graduate assistantship. For the first time in a while, I felt I could breathe. Well, things were not perfect, but they were finally becoming manageable. I believed the hardest part was behind me. I believed I had survived the storm. And then came a call that broke me. The ground disappeared beneath me. I was told my mother has passed away. At Mama saw a tampa. I do a period. my name is Nama Zenim Casa Kafra. And I mean, for Christ,
Amen.
Amen.
Rest in perfect peace. Not only did I lose my mother, but I couldn't even go home for her funeral. I never saw where she was buried. There was no goodbye, no closure, no final embrace. Like my grief had nowhere to land. Yet on the outside, I had to smile. I had to go to class, meet deadlines, and appear okay. Whilst behind that smile was grief, sorrow, and agony. It would have been so easy for me to give up. But even in that brokenness, I found resilience. Well, mentors and peers' compassion became my lifeline. In that support, I kept asking myself a very critical question. How many international students silently carry burdens like mine? And how do institutions respond or fail to respond to these invisible struggles? And this became the foundation of my thesis. Rather than just going around and gathering international student stories, I chose to examine how institutions understand, support international students, and where the gaps exist in promoting this holistic well-being. This thesis is actually personal to me. Behind every international student's smile may be grief, sacrifice, or loneliness that is untold. My thesis transformed my pain into purpose, advocating for a system that allows students not just to survive, but to thrive. Today, as a graduate assistant at Eastern Illinois University, I have the privilege of supporting students and creating programs that foster belonging. Each time I do this, I remember the younger version of me, smiling outside, yet carrying grief and worry inside. Well, I share my story today at NASPA not for sympathy, but to issue a call. International students don't just need policies, procedures, orientations, or visas. We need empathy. We need sympathy. We need intentional support. International students need spaces where they do not have to hide their pains behind a smile. Because international students don't just deserve to survive. We deserve to thrive. Well, I would want to and add a final chapter of my story. I am graduating on OPT and officially job searching. Please know that I came with my resume and would love to continue this conversation. Preferably with an offer letter. Thank you.